Okay, welcome everybody. Um, I don't hear you, but I believe you hear me. If you do, you can let me know in the chat. It's kind of a eerie here, quiet time. Quiet in so many ways because not only are we in our apartments, in our rooms, and not much is going outside, but also it's quiet because we're in a new place. Uh, it's almost like we have walked into a dark forest and need to orient ourselves, um, adjust our eyes, adjust our hearing, adjust our thinking. So I wanted today to a little bit talk about some tools for survival here as we move forward. I don't want it to be too long, but I would also love to hear your questions and your comments. So if you can write a question down on the Q&A, that would be great. This is this moment action. We do this every Thursday at 2 o'clock, either Ellie Palmer or I or both of us. Sometimes we have a guest. Every other week we have a guest, but every other week we take a little bit less time and we talk about tips on how to take heart and take action. So taking heart and taking action, this is where we are right now. So I wanted first to just acknowledge that we all feel anxious, and that not to feel anxious would be not normal. We wouldn't be human beings because we are in an unknown. As I said, it's like entering the forest. And sometimes when we need to change as society, we enter forest in the darkest place. Or as individuals, because we resist all other places to learn. So it's a big learning for us, and it's a story that we are in, and it's a story of being in the unknown, and we will step out of this transformed and changed. Think about different things in your life. So I want to invite you to see yourself in this unknown. And it's very hard to, somebody tells you, hey, like mystics tell you, like, oh, well, you are growing. It feels terrible, but you're growing as a person. And one friend of mine, a student of mine, said, once on a webinar, he has just exclaimed, F the mystics, Um, but he knew that they were right. So how can you help yourself this unknown place? So one way to help yourself is to say, have I been in the unknown before? And when was that? Think about it. Maybe you can type it here. When was the time where we were as a society lost? Were you part of or you were maybe with your family or yourself? Maybe there was a hurricane somewhere where you were, or an earthquake, or 9/11. When 9/11 happened, we were all lost. And then what happened? And think about what emerged out of that experience. So if you can identify it on your chat, that would be great. Just name one experience from your past that this feels familiar, this place, this difficult and unknown place, anxious place, disrupted place with a burden, place when you don't have any answers, and you keep vacillating between despondency and frustration, sometimes anger, but you don't know how to get out of that circle, and it's every day is sort of repeating itself, and you're constantly hearing new things. Maybe you went to the store and like, oh my goodness, what have people done? Or maybe you turn on the news and it's one more time about coronavirus or Trump congratulating himself for being savior of the world. Like, those things can be really frustrating. So I want to invite you to identify one of those places. So if you can write it down, that would be really helpful. Go ahead. I'll just pause here, and maybe you can let that emerge for you? Oh, okay. Betty, thank you so much for your comment here. It's under the questions. She says, hi, Samir. I actually don't feel anxious. I think those of us who are artists or gig economy are used to living in a constant unknown. I think that more than ever, people need to turn to those who live this already. I just love that. Thank you, Betty. This is just um, yeah, I noticed the same thing. Whoever's in a gig economy, we have a kind of like a nod of recognition. Oh yeah, everybody's coming to that place of every morning not knowing what's next, and not knowing whether you will make that new client, that new gig. Everything is always shifting and moving. So to us, we are almost like in a flow. We get this resilience. I really appreciate that. Um, and a lot of people have been in this place before. Who are other people who have been in this already? People who are maybe shut in, people who couldn't go out for forever, for like they're elderly who never could go out. There are people who might have other obstacles in their lives that they couldn't, and now there are teachers, and they can bless us. I really like that. Regina, when I was little, the air raid sirens would come on and we would retreat to the cellar and eat canned peaches. We were practicing for the real event. It was scary. Oh, I can really smell those peaches. I can feel them. Last year I was in Sarajevo with family of mine. They were under siege for 3 years, and they were hungry, and they were locked in for 3 years. For 3 years they couldn't go out. There were snipers everywhere, not the virus, but snipers. And they would go at night and had some rabbits, and then rabbits would eat the grass, and then they would kill the rabbits and go for water and things like that. Um, so right there, which leads us to the second point. The first one is that unknown is teaching us we will emerge greater and bigger out of this. It's a story you will tell one day, like we talk about peaches right now, right? Um, Second thing, um, that that occurs when we are um, sort of locked in and and don't know what to do. Um, I just can keep thinking about, sorry, about Bosnia and my family there. So I lost my train of thought because it takes me some time to I have so many emotions there. But yeah, one of the things that we learn is empathy, right? We now know how it feels to be where people are. People have been here before, and people spend their lifetimes in a place like this. So now is our time to turn all these feelings into empathy, perhaps learn who else is feeling like this, who else is going through this. Maybe they can be my teachers, or maybe I can thank them, maybe I can learn from them. So right now the issue here is learning, not so much for our isolation to end. We just want to do away with it. Um, so thank you, Betty, for asking about Bosnia and your experience. It is what got people in Bosnia out. They were locked in for 3 years was humor. Believe it or not, it was the most important power there. They were so supportive of one another and so diverse. There were Muslims, Christians, and Jews together, and atheists, and they have a lot of museums there, and I have been there, seen everything, and I feel like there will be a breakthrough in some way in how we handle ourselves. When you're in the unknown, one of the first things that happens is that you are pushed to a place where you simply have to be creative. You just, creativity springs up. You become alive. And at one point, a lot of us will become alive because we will be able to create new things and think in new ways. Other things that happens, you let go of things. The things you thought you need, you don't. Instead of saying, I need that, well, no, I don't. I don't need that. And you realize you can live without it. And there's a lot of new space created in your life. So those are some of the things I have experienced in Bosnia. Another thing I wanted to bring up before we end this and before I can hear from you a little bit is think of yourself as more than your head and more than your mind, and get a relief from what are you thinking, because our mind is so busy and it takes over and it's fed with news and information all the time. So if you can just maybe sit straight and have your feet, feel your feet on the ground and sense your breathing, and then just from your head you descend down into your heart. So descend down in your heart and just observe how you feel. Just give a permission to feel the things you feel. You don't need to change those feelings. Even you don't need to name them or judge them in any way. You just need to feel them and let that feel. Kind of release your head from being in charge and get down into your heart. Yeah. From thinking to feeling, from head to heart. And with your next breath, just go down even lower, going into your stomach. And stomach is a sense of, it's a hara, which is like a sense of being, who you are, your intuition, your sense of standing on this ground, of belonging. It's a stable place that we have. So from that stomach, just release your heart. You don't need to pay attention to it anymore in your mind. Just feel in your stomach, like where you are. It's a sense of being. So you're moving from feeling to thinking to being. And take another deep breath. And whatever you had in your head, in your heart, now you can feel, like you can sense it in your stomach. Maybe it's a question or a worry that you have, whether about your work or about your child, your family at home. Maybe something simple. A fear of going out, maybe. Just let it descend down in your stomach. And then with the next breath, let it descend even further down into your hips, into your doing. What are you doing with it? Like how it's manifested in the world. So you descend from your thinking, to feeling, to being, to your doing. And in that doing, let whatever you carry dwell there. So then you return back to your stomach, to your heart, and to your head. You can even put your hands on your head. So I find these helpful because you have different gateways in who you are. You're not stuck with your mind or stuck with your feelings. So I invite you to practice that. Um, if you are still here with us, I want to invite you to, you can ask a question here. Let me see if there's new questions. All right. No, we don't have any questions. Okay. Okay, well, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we have a webinar here. We have amazing guests um, every other Tuesday with Ali Palmer, who will be hosting. And Ali herself is just a spring of energy and wisdom you will enjoy. She is the host of that. We had Eve Ensler 4 weeks ago, and we had Doug Paget last week. So just at your registration, you can look up who is next and who's going to be coming. We have been working towards two big events, Revolutionary Love on April 25th for 3 days in Washington, D.C., and also Rally, This Moment Rally. And we don't know whether they will occur or not. We'll make a decision on March 31st. So March 31st, we will know. You can also go to Middle Collegiate Church in New York. There's a lot of encouragement there you can find with Reverend Jackie Lewis and her team. You can also go to votecommongood.com, and you can also find inspiration there and a way to be active. So every Tuesday, once you are registered for one of these events on Thursday, you get emails from Zoom about each one. Sorry, Thursday, not Tuesday. Yes, Thursday. Thursday like today, every Thursday, not Tuesday. Great. Thanks so much for correcting me. Okay, well, we'll sign off right now. And again, we all in the unknown. We are learning, growing, and it's a part of the story we'll tell one day. We're becoming better for this, and we always have a freedom to access more parts of us rather than just our boring mind. So go through these places in your body that symbolize, that actually are gateways to larger self that you have. So stay safe, present, and learn to tell a better story about what you're experiencing. And I'm sure they'll help you. Blessings from Harlem. Hugs from Harlem. See you next week.